You're all set.
Judy was perfect.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 1, 2022 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let's have those seated at the table introduce themselves, please.
Tamara Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
You need help?
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demergen, zoning administrator.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, first item on our agenda this evening is a review of the minutes from the February 15, 2022 meeting. I was not present for that meeting, so I'll have no comment on the minutes.
And we will review the minutes from that special meeting that we had last week at the next meeting.
Well, I have no comments other than to say thank you to Tom for volunteering on the Regional Council of Government.
This close.
My
Very good. Thank you very much.
Step right up. We didn't have to coax him at all.
I did read that in the minutes, right? It was in the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
On page 3, Tammy.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what paragraph you'd call that, but the one beginning with Mr. Ott.
Yes.
On the third line, I think you want consultation to be compliance.
Review it. Oh. Compliance. Yes, thank you.
That's all I have.
I see that you attached the opt-out resolutions to the minutes.
And the letters.
Okay, they all appear to be signed. There was one on the very last page. Judy signed them all as vice chairman. Doesn't look like she signed the last page.
We did get the
Got that done?
Yeah, we did.
All right, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah.
All right. All right, any comments? All right, someone prepared to move that we accept the minutes?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to accept the minutes from the February 15th meeting. Do we have a second? It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I abstain. All right. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up under the topic of old business? All right, hearing none, then item 3 on the agenda is new business.
I did have one item that I wanted to bring up, which Ozzie and I were able to briefly discuss earlier today. I've been getting a good amount of calls regarding, sorry, Chris. Regarding the electric vehicle charging stations being put in at, existing properties. I didn't know how we felt moving forward on that. A lot of them, because you're not reducing any parking, you're just putting the charging station there. And I didn't know if that's something that we were comfortable with me, doing administratively. I mean, we don't really have any language in the regulations that touches on those. But if anybody wants to have general discussion over, is there any special looks that we should be taking at these? Should it be, they would have to get building permits anyways, so it's not like they would just be able to put them in.
Right.
But I didn't know if anybody had specific concerns when looking at them, or they're brought up.
You're talking about in commercial properties.
Correct.
And you're talking about putting a freestanding pylon charging station
Right.
into an existing space with no loss of space.
With no loss of space, right. I'd rather safe than sorry, which is why I brought it
Yeah,
up.
I mean,
I mean, sometimes we see the charging stations on a site plan approval, as part of a site plan approval. I think we had that on the Milestones, the corner of
Yeah, I
Lambert
think there's a
and,
couple places. I know Trader
Right.
Joe's has already put in one or two.
And we know that I don't know if it's Cumberland's but we had a presentation, I forget, a couple of years ago where we know it's coming, it's going to expand the size of the footprints of those types of establishments, because it takes 15 or 20 minutes to charge the vehicle, and they're going to, I mean, but I don't think it's going to change the parking at all.
Yeah.
Right, you're not losing spaces.
No, I mean, from a public safety issue, that, it's just a live electrical feed, so you probably want to have a bollard on them.
With a finger,
Insert finger here.
Well, that would be the building department.
Right.
Right, they
So I
still
don't
would have
think
to
it
pull
does.
electrical permits and obviously get the necessary inspections and everything. I just didn't know if, setbacks, do we have an issue with any, obviously not structures they're putting in, but, it is a small unit that would be included. But again, they're not changing the site really any significant manner.
I don't see any issue with it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't see any reason why it needs to be brought to the
Right.
the commission when
That sounds good to me. Thank you, everyone.
All right, anything else under new business? All right. Jack, do you have anything under report of the zoning enforcement officer?
I do. I have at 100 Marsh Hill Road, the Avangrid UI property. They submitted a site plan for a around 3,000 square foot environmental storage building. It's on the existing portion of the property that's already utilized for storage. It's essentially a big shed that they're looking to put there. I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that I was looking at that administratively.
For what?
It's for generators and equipment that's already stored on the property, just building, like I said, an open garage for it, yeah. So it could be roofed. They'd be taking the places that they have current, like storage racks that are outside and exposed to the elements. They'd be replacing those with this building.
From a coverage standpoint, they're fine.
They're fine coverage, it's going on existing blacktop. All of the necessary department heads have already taken a look at it and given the sign off, so just figured I'd bring it up while we were here.
Okay.
All right. And I think that's about it. We had our housing meeting, so when I hear back from the regional planning authorities with any of that information that we had spoken about, I'll be sure to send it along.
A good meeting, more than I expected to get actually out of them.
Yeah.
They were thoughtful, and they had obviously had mapped out a lot of the stuff, and were relatively familiar with Orange, which was nice.
Absolutely, yeah. And I did get the recording of the meeting if anybody wants it, and I did ask Chris to post it online too, so it will be available.
When we get the working document to modify to Orange, call it the base document, and we start working on language, is that a public hearing process? Or is that a special meeting, or how do we do that in a collaborative manner and still meet our obligations?
Do the bylaws allow for the appointment of committees?
That's a good question.
I think it does.
So essentially creating
Well, we
a
could-
housing,
We don't have to all be present for that.
Just Tom.
The housings are.
But maybe we could appoint a committee to at least take a first crack at drafting some changes,
But at a
But we-
certain number of commissioners, doesn't it become?
Yeah.
Three or
it
more.
becomes a meeting, which is why we had to schedule a special meeting for the,
Once
For
we
last
have,
week.
once we have three, right?
once we
Three or
have
more.
quorum, yep.
So do the legwork with a subcommittee that doesn't trigger the public hearing process, and then upgrade it? But we have a relatively compressed timeframe, don't we?
A little bit. I think they said we're gonna have 2 or 3 opportunities for revisions before they, really start finalizing anything.
We could always have a special meeting if necessary.
Okay.
But why don't you check the bylaws on that,
Will do.
commission bylaws, and see if that's allowed. And we'll see what we can do.
And that's all I had.
All right. All right, the next item on the agenda is the first of our 2 public hearings. This one was already opened at our last meeting on February 15th. It's the re-subdivision application submitted by Sunrise Hill Estates LLC for the re-subdivision of Lot 4 of Sunrise Hill Estates. Is the applicant present?
Yes, good evening. Hello all. My name is Joe Porto. I practice law with Perrette, Porto, Parisi, and Clawell. Our office is in Hamden, and we are here with regard to our representation for the applicant. So we were last here 2 weeks ago on the 15th, and I want to just apologize. I think my conduct fell below the acceptable standard for discourse at a hearing like this, and for that I apologize. With regard to the application itself, we covered the four corners of the re-subdivision application for 54 Skyview Road, or Lot 4. It meets all the bulk standards. You heard from Mike Ott, the project engineer, and you heard from Dave Lord, the project soil scientist. The hearing was going along, I think, smashingly, and then some neighbors showed up and complained about the condition of the road. So within 24 hours, well, literally on the ride home, I was in touch with the developer, and by that following morning, we had sent an email to staff's office, to Jack, making him aware of what our client was prepared to do, which is the following. Number one, scheduled a meeting with Jack promptly, and that by that Friday, I believe that would have been the 18th day of February, literally went out to the site, and also agreed to the following schedule, to patch the binder. So by way of background, my understanding is that the asphalt plants are closed for the winter, so they're not literally open right now. I think that's supposed to be happening soon, but my client said between the 7th of April and the 21st day of April, they'll go out and they'll patch the binder, fix any ruts or broken areas, make it more presentable and more operational, smoother. During that same time frame of April 7th to April 21st, they will repair or patch or replace any broken curbs. And then, regardless of where they are with the earthworks, if should the commission approve the re-subdivision application for this lot, between the 21st day of September and October 15th, they will lay in a finished course on that roadbed. Ideally, according to my client, if the other driveways for the remaining, I guess, 7 lots, could be laid in, that would be helpful, because apparently the driveways come in and then the road is laid in to meet that driveway, from what I'm told. You guys probably know more. But that would be great. Yeah, and that's it. So that's the presentation. The nuts and bolts of the resub we covered 2 weeks ago.
Judy, you'll have to help me out. Was there anything else? I was not at that
No,
meeting. so-
and clearly, the neighbors are not in attendance this evening, so
Right.
I'm gonna make the assumption
Yeah.
that their concerns
Jack, you met
were
with the
addressed.
applicant?
I did, yeah. I met with Mr. Sachs on
Good.
Skyview, pretty much discussed exactly what was written out here.
Excellent.
Made it very apparent that he's not planning on leaving the road. I think with the current 7 lots on Skyview, 4 of them are still in development.
Okay.
So it's standard that the road would be finished after those lots are completed, or else you just end up destroying the road and having to do it twice.
Right.
I think a lot of the frustration came from this subdivision was approved, I mean, you know better, I think around 2010, maybe even a little 14, somewhere around there, and 4 of those lots are today in development. It's just been a long time since it's been approved to now, so I think there was some frustration there, but, certainly nothing.
Well, what the applicant has agreed to do, I think that solves the immediate problem.
Right,
anyhow.
and on request of the applicant, I did send this off to the neighbor who.
That was nice, smart.
Was present here, and I asked him to distribute it to the rest of the individuals who came along as well.
Were there any questions on the subdivision application itself?
No.
No, meets all the qualifications.
All right, and all
For lot?
No, sir.
the municipal department heads have all signed off on it.
Yes, sir.
I'll move that. You're looking for a motion?
Well, I thought Kevin was,
Oh.
like he was gonna say
Oh,
something.
okay, I didn't realize his finger.
I was going to make a motion too, so
Oh, all right.
you can go first.
All right, well, you're
I-
gonna,
As long as the binder course is set and the property owners can count on that as being a certain distance below the finish course, then their pavers can go to the correct elevation. Everyone's happy. I think some of the frustration was, that it's still a private road and needs to be maintained, and
Right, and the question is the level of maintenance there.
Right, and everybody took a look. The applicant took care of things in this last ice storm, which was not easy. So, everyone's going to keep going on good faith.
All right, good. So we need a motion then to close the public hearing to start with, right?
So moved. I think we may have done that. No?
No.
No, I
Oh,
thought you
then
were-
I move that we close the public hearing.
All right,
Second.
All right. We have a motion that's been seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Bill.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We vote on the, oh, okay.
We discuss, if there's any
Yep.
discussion.
Kevin said it pretty well as to what we were looking for. The applicant stepped up after being, brought to his attention, let's say.
Yeah.
And
It's sort of a tangential issue, though. I mean, the real issue is
clearly,
the
Right.
subdivision
Right.
application. Right. And we see no problem with that. Okay.
And actually, just to put it on the record, and so we did mention it, the lot being created has a retention pond on it. It is the responsibility of the property owner now and in the future for the maintenance and upkeep of that pond. And
Along with the lot it's split from.
correct. And I'll be sending out to the developer and, in the owner, if it does sell, I'm assuming at some point. We have a nice checklist of responsibilities of the property owner to keep a detention pond healthy and operating as it should be.
Okay.
But just to throw that out there.
All right. All right, then, is someone prepared to move that we approve the application?
I'll move that we approve the re-subdivision application submitted by Sunrise Hill Estates LLC for the re-subdivision of lot number 4 of Sunrise Hill Estates to create a single-family residential lot from an existing lot comprised of 2.85 acres in the residential zone.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cornell. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. All right, very good. All right, our six,
On the windows, sir?
I'm not sure which one we're gonna use yet, but I'll put it on the windowsill.
Okay, no, just so that you're by the microphones and not talking away from them.
all right, item 6 on our agenda is the second public hearing that we have this evening. Paul, can we start by having you read the legal notice for us?
To appear one time on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022, and one time on Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. The Orange TPZC, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road. The Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: a site plan application submitted by DGA LLC for the property known as 321 Boston Post Road, to use a portion of the existing parking lots to construct a patio for the outdoor dining. An application for special permit and use has been submitted in conjunction with this application per section 383-143.4 and 383-175B as in boy. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 15th day of February 2022. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, the applicant is here.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Joe Kubik, and I'm a lawyer with Harlow, Adams, and Friedman in Milford, Connecticut. And I'm here tonight on behalf of DGA LLC, that does business as Chip's Family Restaurant. And with me tonight is John Wicko and Thomas Slota of John Wicko Architects in the back here, Jeff Gordon with Coda Spody Associates. And we're looking for approvals for outdoor dining at the existing Chip's Family Restaurant at 321 Boston Post Road in Orange. We're looking for special exception use for the outdoor dining and site plan approval. There's also an application, part of the special exception request has to do with parking, but we've been studying the parking quite a bit, and we think that we may not even need that, but we want to present anyway, so the commission can decide.
You're referring to 383-175,
Yes, I am. The governor's order, executive order, is still in effect until March 31st of this year. And we know that the legislature passed special act having outdoor dining be as of right going forward. But we've been waiting for the town to promulgate that ordinance or regulation, and we're kind of in a bind here. We really would like to get this outdoor patio and outdoor dining up and running this year instead of losing that time. We're seeking approvals today under the existing regulations with the hope that we will get approval so that we can get some shovels in the ground by the end of the month. That said, as you know, this is an LSC zone, a special shopping center, local shopping center district. And I have some history about this property, and I learned something additional today about it that I thought was fascinating, and how a town can do business over the decades. And it's a book here, and it's not. You'll hopefully explain the method to my madness as we go through this book. But on the first tab is when Clem Passarello got building approval, building permit approvals, and CO for the existing Chips restaurant. On the first page is actually, it shows CO on there for April 1966. Next page of Exhibit 1 shows the building and where it lied on the property. And if you were standing on the post road looking at the building, it would be all the way to the right of the property. It also is interesting to note that the distance from the Boston Post Road to the front of the building says 75 feet. Back in 1951, the regulations that were promulgated and that were in effect until April 1968 called for a 30-foot front yard setback in the business zone. In 1968, the regulations changed to 50 foot. And this building was completed in 1966, so falls under the regulations that were in effect in 1951. The next exhibit, and these are aerial photographs, and unfortunately we had trouble blowing them up, but these are out of the Connecticut State Library aerial database. The first one's 1970, and if you go to the second page, it's blown up. You can see the existing Chips restaurant. It's hard to make out, but the arrow's pointing right at it. Exhibit 5 is the 1990 aerial photograph, and if you go to the blow up, you'll see the existing Chips restaurant and what's now the Ken Mike Tower. The Ken Mike Tower was constructed on or about 1984. I believe the approvals for the Ken Mike Tower were 82, 83 range. And that, of course, exists today. Exhibit 6, and actually going back to Exhibit 5, it's hard to see, but you can make out the Boston Post Road. And in 1990, it would have been 2 lanes in each direction. The 1995 aerial photograph is a little better in the blow up in Exhibit 6. It shows the existing Chips restaurant, the existing Ken Mike Tower, and it shows samples of the parking that's around that property. And you can also make out that the Boston Post Road is 2 lanes in each direction. Back in the 60s, I believe it was in the 60s, Boston Post Road was only 1 lane in each direction in most of it, as it is today in places like Madison and Guilford and Westbrook. Exhibit 7, the blow-up photograph is much clearer now. On Exhibit 7, you can see the Ken Mike Tower, the existing Chips restaurant, and the use of parking on that property. And this is over decades now. And then Exhibit 8 shows, this is off of a more current, I think it's off of Bing Maps. I think it's Bing Maps. That's currently on the internet. And it shows the existing Chips, the Ken Mike Tower, and it shows the type of parking that's there. I mean, you can see the office building certainly has more parking. It's probably not a Saturday or Sunday, and it's certainly going to be our argument that the parking on this property, and I'll explain a little bit more about the nature of the property, is it's a mixed use. And Chips does its biggest business, I think we all know, on a Saturday and Sunday. They certainly are open for business throughout the week, but that office building is typically not very active on a Saturday or a Sunday. So the mixed use category for the regulation rendered is that category that you can choose, I think, is completely applicable to the mixed use for this property and how it has been historically for about 40 years. The next exhibit, Exhibit 9, are just some photographs to get a feeling of the property. In particular, this first photograph shows that back side of the Chips restaurant where there will no longer be access. A couple points to that, and actually, if you turn to the next Exhibit 2, there's another photograph of that property. I think no, actually, the next page, not the next exhibit. We've talked to the fire marshal, fire chief. The apparatus have trouble getting around that corner, and as sure as most trucks. And we'll talk a little bit about the traffic safety. We've got approvals, of course, from the Traffic Commission about how shutting off this roadway will make traffic circulation safer.
Joe, you're talking about closing as you come in from the post road, your inability to make a right turn as the proposal.
Correct. Also, we've got wetlands approval. We're proposing to remove impervious surfaces, and I've got a couple experts here to talk about it. But impervious surfaces with impervious surfaces with pervious surfaces that would allow better water dissipation and hopefully prevent contaminants of getting into Silverbrook. But that was something Inland Wetlands has already reviewed. The big construction project that was there, we all had to deal with it. It's this huge pipe going. They widened the post road there to an additional lane, so now it's essentially 5 lanes wide. They put this huge pipe over a new bridge, new culvert, and you can see photographs of this is what has resulted. And so in between the post road and front of Chips Restaurant is this, and that's Exhibit 10 has better photographs. This huge pipe, I don't know, it's got to be like this. A foot and a half to 2 foot in diameter, with a huge concrete abutment along it. So that's really what's dividing the post road from the Chips. It's not accessible. Certainly a barrier for any oncoming traffic onto the property. It's a fortified wall. But you'll see, if you flip through that exhibit, you'll see different shots of that wall and how imposing it is with the guardrails that run by. So certainly for a public safety point of view, no car can get into this location. It would be virtually impossible. The next exhibit is just Exhibit 11. Is just to show that road today, and this photograph was taken today, is 5 lanes wide, where it was 4 lanes for many, many years, and back in the 60s, 1 lane in each direction. And so what I learned today was Chips is, well, let me go back a little bit. So Chips was built, the building was built in 1966 by Clem Passarello, the father of Ken Passarello, who owns the property with his wife, Georgiana Passarello. In about 20 years ago, this breezeway, many of us have been through it, where it acts as an outside door, then an inside door to keep the cold weather from blowing in and out and having a place for people to wait, was constructed. So that was constructed about 20 years ago. Since then, nothing significant has been done to the outside of the property as far as the restaurant goes. In 1984, the Ken Mike Tower was constructed. The approvals were sometime in 82, 83, and the Ken Mike Tower was constructed. There's two buildings on this property, 2 different uses on this property. But as it turns out, the property has never legally been subdivided yet. And I have the tax cards in that little book that I concluded for you. The first tax card says 325 on it in the upper left-hand corner. That's for the Ken Mike Tower. And the second tax card shows 321. That's for Chips. According to the tax assessor today, he said that there was what's known as a courtesy split. I'm not really sure what that is, but that's what he called it. And so the property is legally 1 parcel, but it has 2 uses on it, and it's taxed as separate parcels. It's our contention that Chips Family Restaurant always had adequate parking, still has adequate parking, will continue to have adequate parking. But if it needed more parking on its weekends, it's got the benefit of the mixed use that it's had for many, many years.
Is the number of spaces, is it non-conforming?
No, we believe it's conforming, and Jeff Gordon here is going to explain that for you. That's why I brought him. Yeah.
Looks good.
So with that, I'm going to introduce, who wants to go, John or Jeff? Jeff, okay. introduce Jeff Gordon from Codaspodi and Associates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
Good to see everybody. Jeff Gordon from Codaspodi and Associates, doing business here in the town of Orange. As I went through this, I was a little surprised too, as Attorney Kubik brought out. If you go onto the town's GIS map and you click on that parcel, it comes across as Ken Mike LLC is 1.6 acres. That's the whole piece. That's the only card that comes up, but as we can see, it's 2.5 acres, the whole piece. So it's probably a title searcher's nightmare, is what I would think if they go.
So is it your testimony that it's one parcel, or is it two parcels?
Legally, it's one parcel. It has one legal description. But it's being taxed as two separate parcels and being used as two separate parcels, essentially.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, I just had this on a Woodbridge piece. It's
Yeah.
a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find that other tax card, and I had to
Yeah.
go have the tax assessor locate it for me.
Right.
Why do you ask? What do you?
Well, I mean, it could be relevant in terms of parking. If it was
Right.
two separate pieces,
Right.
it's different than
Yeah.
Yeah.
one piece,
Yeah, listen,
where they're going.
it could have been multiple parcels because I think it's only a 25,000 square foot district. They could have had multiple parcels, but they,
But there was never
No.
a formal subdivision.
you know, it's kind of like people who try to, in the States, they try to subdivide by probate. They don't bother to go through the process.
So if there were to be an application to subdivide in the future, you'd have to demonstrate that each
Cross
side.
easements and all that other stuff there.
Yeah, but each side had adequate parking.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I went through the parking ratios based on what I knew about Ken Mike, which was not a lot, based on what the regulations were at the time, when it was 4 per thousand for an office building. And the restaurant, which was interesting, I'll just kind of hold this up here. I have a highlighted red area there. Back at the time, few probably remember, but restaurants, parking was calculated based on one space per 75 square feet of patron floor area. And I think the approved plan showed 32 parking spaces. I tried to polyline through the building, and I came up somewhere around 33 parking spaces. But any way you look at it, a lot of times parking spaces are striped to meet the number, and they don't really meet your standards. As we look, those existing spaces over there, these spaces over here, don't meet any standard that you have or that I generally am familiar with, but that could be a result of 15 feet of the road disappearing and 15 feet of the property disappearing through time, and it just kept on getting squeezed down. So what we try to do is, as we put in this patio area to memorialize what they were doing during the height of the COVID close down, is to restripe spaces and regain the spaces that would be lost here and make sure that they actually are working parking spaces that meet some sort of a standard.
So so I'm clear, so if you were to consider this to be two separate parcels, what's the parking requirement?
For a restaurant.
For chips?
Well, the way I would calculate it is if you took the building at 32, and if I added parking according to the 1 per 75 patron floor area for the patio area, even though that's only seasonal parking, that would be like another 24 spaces or 25 spaces. So I would have a requirement of 57 spaces, say. And right now, being that it's not divided into two parcels, it seems like the natural line has always been this island here, and there's 64 parking spaces that are attendant to that. So that's why it's never really been challenged as far as the need for parking. You know, occasionally, if nobody wanted to walk back there, they would park over here when nothing was going on. But what I did is I was able to pick up 2 parking spaces here, I pick up a parking space back there, and I restriped these spaces so they're actually normal-oriented size spaces.
So I just want to make sure I understand your testimony, that in the event it is two parcels, that there are 60, how many?
Well, it's hard to say two parcels because we don't know where the parcel line would be.
You just pointed out
Well, I'm
one.
just saying that
Like that's a natural,
historically, that island seems to have been, but, you know, that would make this non-conforming and this very conforming, in my estimation. So I don't
I mean, you're
know
submitting it like that.
where the magic line is, but we're not asking for a subdivision today. We're just giving you a little historical outlay on this.
is there access to the building from the east side?
From, well, there's access through into the,
I mean, pedestrian access, not,
no, they have to walk around to the front door there, but the staff and whatnot has access
to the
through
rear
there.
of the building.
Right, and then we have,
Because that's closed off now. That would be closed off under your.
right, well, and again, you know, you don't want people, there was always that little hesitation when you pulled in here, am I gonna go right or am I gonna go that way? And uncertainty is a real bad thing for traffic. You want a natural flow, and now we just come right in here, and that's fine. We've taken out asphalt, and Wetlands was happy because we're taking the asphalt away from the stream, and we're replacing it with a decorative paved area. The Traffic Commission was happy because it's now a more certain traffic flow. And the parking numbers are I gain one space on the overall total piece of property. So what I lose over here, I'm able to regain and gain one additional space.
I'm going to ask it from a different angle then. Assuming that it's one parcel, does this application meet parking requirements?
Yeah, I would say it meets the parking requirements as they were at the time the projects were built.
So that goes to my non-conforming question.
Well,
Yes.
I
was about to say, he's improving by one space on a non-conforming condition.
well, that would be,
Turn on your,
Are you taking any spaces away due to the project?
I'm taking, what I'm taking away here, I'm gaining back through that, and then I get one additional space over there.
He's got a net gain of one space.
So he's not enlarging the non-conformity? Correct.
On the checklist for the application, it says required parking 158.52, provided 150. But it's your testimony you'll have adequate parking.
Yeah, I think what,
But in any event,
that went back before we started looking at the date of the application approvals and what the regulations were at the time it was approved. That would be under your current regulation, it would be a few short, but
in any event.
But under the zoning table, he's got required 158, existing 149, proposed 150.
Yeah.
So,
but he didn't upgrade it to the 1951 code that it was built under. That's our current code.
But-
So from a practical standpoint, what exists there today that we've all experienced, whether we're going to the doctor at Ken Mike or Chips for breakfast, is going to be that or better,
Right. The non-conformity, or if you want to call it that, is reduced.
if it exists.
Right.
and I think it'll function better.
So why the need to bring 383-175B into play?
I mean, that was prior to them going by the standard of,
But aren't they required to go by this standard now because you're utilizing a current reg to put in a patio?
Well, I can answer that. So I met with Jack and we discussed it back and forth, and it seemed the safer route is to put it out there. But since then, we've had Jeff crunch the numbers and do the measurements, and we don't believe we need to go on under it anymore. And I'm willing to withdraw that because I don't think it's necessary given our the history of the property.
Has everybody looked at that section?
I can read it here if you like.
Well, if you were to put an enclosed addition, so this is going to be an open patio, but
Yep.
suppose the proposal was to have an enclosed structure and just increase the square footage of the restaurant. What parking regs do you feel you'd have to come under at that point?
I'd have to look at the regulations. I don't know off the top of my head.
But current,
If we're going to do yeah, I think if we're going to do a major addition, you'd have to bring it current.
okay,
Okay?
that's my thought.
Well, I'm not sure I follow your,
No, I see, I think they're maybe utilizing a parking reg from the past to say that they will meet the parking regs. And my point is, I believe they need to meet the current parking regs
Yeah.
because this is a proposal under a current regulation that allows for outdoor dining.
That's
That's all.
that was my feeling as well, which is why I suggested this special permit. 175B allows for shared parking between if peak parking demands among users occur at different hours of the day, and this offset results in a lower net parking demand, which is why I suggested this special permit section be requested.
And if we look at it that way, it's a minor ask of 7 spaces
Right, and from
with
a
an increased traffic pattern flow,
Right.
removal of some spaces that turn people into squirrels in it, and cul-de-sac them trying to sneak around the corner of a building where they're more likely to run over a busboy than get where they need to go.
As Jeff said, it's a better flow.
Better flow,
Yeah.
right. And from a practical standpoint, I believe it will work.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, you have to follow the current parking regs, and if you need this exception, it seems very practical that you'll get it.
So
I
how
think
felt.
we're not withdrawing it, is what I'm saying.
I'm not withdrawing it.
I would say not.
Yeah. It's a strange piece of property, and I think Commissioner Smith says this is the simplest way to field currency.
I mean, it's one property owner,
Yep.
right? It's one parcel.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was taxed.
It has never
differently.
been subdivided. It
It
is
isn't,
one
no,
parcel.
it's one parcel.
But
The
if
thing
it
that
were-
throws you are the 2 tax bills, which have
Who
no
knows when
business.
that happened?
Well, I have gotten that before on mixed-use parcels so that I could send individual tax bills to individual tenants. And that's why they're using the word courtesy. But when courtesies hang around too long, they seem to become something else, but they're really not.
In Woodbridge, it was brother and sister wanted separate tax bills, one property, there were 2 tax bills, and it makes you nuts, you know? Because you look at it and say, how are they 2 tax bills in one piece of property? Yeah.
And then somebody dies and the estate tries to subdivide by probate.
But if it ever is subdivided, you know, the subdivision approval would be
Based on
dependent on.
appropriate parking.
Right.
to the
Right.
current
And
size.
Or you could do the same thing essentially that we're doing under 175B with cross easements
Yeah.
or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah,
so.
it becomes a very messy map. Just to simplify my portion here, again, the landscaping that goes with this, the landscape design is basically to highlight the time of year when it's going to be used, with ornamental grasses, hydrangeas, liriope, fragrant planting materials, and then we had some plant materials along the edge of the stream to be in harmony with the riverside there.
Excuse me,
So-
Jeff? How many people, patrons are you thinking about for the new area?
Well, I think John can address that
Oh, okay.
best, because what happens is when they sit out here, they have to lose seats inside for access, so there's a net on that one. Okay.
What I see in the application that you have inland wetlands approved.
Yes,
That was in 2020?
that was about a month and a half
Yeah,
ago.
that was earlier this year.
I think there's a typo then in that, in the application, because I thought it said that permit was obtained in 2020. My question was, is it still in effect?
I have the corrected version here.
All right,
Yeah, 2022.
all right, so that's in full force and effect.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's give our attention to Mr. Wicko.
Thanks, Jeff. Good evening, John Wicko, architect, 58 Prospect Street in Milford. Just to touch on the building, the existing is remaining as is, with the exception of some seats that are being removed, a total of 4. A net of 4 will be removed to accommodate some new glass that you're able to walk through, those sliding doors. The porch remains as is. We're adding a trellis. Just wanted you to see where the porch is. So that's this here, and then we're adding this trellis, and it's part of the patio, and then there's the open section which has no trellis above it.
John, you access the patio, the new patio through only the inside?
Yeah, the new patio is through right next to the
You can't access it
reception.
from the parking lot, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
There's an outdoor waiting area.
Yep.
Which is kind of being used now, but we're kind of getting in a spot so we contain some people, so it's a little
Yeah,
safer.
instead of getting run over, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also, so that's here also. So that will be supervised by the hostess. And then there's this walkway, which Jeffy alluded to, which is really part of our egress plan. So there's two ways out from the patio area. The net seats on the outside are 72, they're seasonal. So when this is busy, this isn't busy, and when it's cold out, this is closed and everyone's back inside. And we're proposing a solid wall, kind of a buffer, since the construction is done. But a landscape item, basically. A 4-foot fence here and then a 6-foot fence in the back. So it is a contained patio that people can't meander around once they're done eating. And
Hey, John, what's the setback? For the, between the patio and
The side or the front?
toward the post road?
the post road, there's a,
It's 36, all right.
yeah, I've got the 30 feet. We've got the tables, all the tables are on the,
On the
on
drawings.
the, the inside of the setback. So no, the building is clearly outside of it, but the tables were kind of subject to it, so we decided to pull those back a few feet away from the wall. I have a drawing, is it on that? If I could, does this look, if I could establish that line? Do you guys have that drawing? I believe you do.
I'm sure we do.
Okay, good. And then the exterior looks the same, with the exception of, the wall, the fence, and then the trellis that's in that area. And I have,
The post road is here on this.
that's correct. And I have some colored renderings if they want to be distributed. To see the
You can pass this
natural
around.
browns and grays of the stone, and the trellis is going to be a natural wood.
These all the same?
I think that's a color
It's just
rendering
the
of.
front, yep, that's what the colored of this one. So we're really trying to beautify and soften up that front corner, and kind of hide it too from chips, to shield some of those pipes and guardrails, and put a buffer between the two. And also improve the site flow and safety of the whole arrangement, the way it's being set up now.
So access to the restaurant from the patio is either through those glass doors,
Yeah, that's the primary access, but on the,
sliding glass doors?
yeah, there's these booths are removed, which is on the previous plan. There's tables substituted, and these two areas will allow the patrons to come from the hostess counter through into the porch and be seated.
But John, you also said that there's access from the parking lot area right there?
Yeah, there is an outdoor waiting, so they also can, there's benches on either side, and the hostess will be kind
It'll
of,
be a busy hostess.
they usually are, yeah, that's how they're always out here now, so they have to go out and, call names and all that stuff, but, so we're trying to get it in one spot, a little safer. But on the nice days, they could come in through that door also.
One of our standards is prohibits food and/or drink preparation in the outdoor seating area. That's not intended, I assume.
Correct, it's all wait staff
Okay.
served. All the preparations in the same portions of the restaurant as they currently is.
Do you, maybe this is a little, again, I'm just looking at the special standards here. Do you show a requirement in the plans? I don't think I saw it for anchoring the tables and the umbrellas.
The umbrellas, they are anchored with the pod that they sit in. They're weighted. Tables are under the trellised area. So, but we're not
Nothing special?
We're not going to bolt the tables down, but they are outdoor tables that are designed for that purpose.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's,
Any questions?
yeah, I'm here to answer questions.
Were there, Jeff, maybe this is a better question for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Was there any concern about the pedestrians walking around the back of the building? I mean, any traffic commission? I was thinking of the question you raised, Tom, on that, what's the candy store? Munson's. And there was a sort of a blind turn coming from the back of the building, heading out toward the front. And we asked for some sign.
It's going to be restricted, so I think it's going to be
safer.
better than it was, yeah.
But what about the pedestrian traffic?
I don't think they can get through. Are they going to be able to get through, Jeff?
No.
Well,
No.
The only way they would get through is through that gate.
There's an exit door here for emergency access that they could go out into the parking lot there, but you're not going to really be having,
Not somebody
Any
going
traffic.
around, nobody going around the building.
no vehicles can go around.
He's asking about
I'm talking
pedestrian.
about people on foot.
Right.
Can they walk around the building? They really can't, you can't get around here because there's a riprap slope into
Yeah,
the
no,
stream
I'm
mean around
talking
the
about,
rear?
I'm talking about
from that door there.
I'm talking about around the back of the building.
Well,
You park
yeah.
in one of those parking
Yeah,
spaces.
well, you could, but we expect that that's going to mostly be employee parking back there.
Okay.
But if they do, they'll walk through the parking towards the front where they recognize the entrance when they first drive in.
I mean, you're only going
That's
to
what
park here if
happens
it's the
now.
last parking spot available, because you're going to have to walk all the way around to get in.
Right.
Not to say it might not happen, but it's not a prime spot, obviously.
This has been,
You're thinking it creates I'm sorry, you're thinking it's creating a dangerous condition because they could maybe sneak in the front toward through the front
I was
door?
thinking cars are coming in and going right after the building, and people are coming out of those spaces.
Oh, going toward the front of the,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
yeah, parking lots, yeah.
It's a parking lot.
Yeah. Right. So nothing like that was raised with the traffic?
Not to my knowledge, and
They signed off?
they did.
I mean, I think you can make that argument in any parking lot.
Right.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Target or any of the other ones, you know.
Eli's is a good one.
Right,
Yeah.
Yep.
same thing.
Yeah, Eli's is very similar.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
haven't lost anybody there.
What about the fire department? Fire department?
Sign
is
off.
Signed
Yes,
off?
sir. The rest of the other department heads did as well.
All right.
That was my initial concern, actually, the lack of fire department access all the way around the building, but they didn't have it to begin with.
Right, on that side, right.
I beat you
Okay.
to it, Kevin.
Okay,
Anything further?
I think I can give you my usual conclusion about how we comply with all your standards, and will comply with your standards, but I think you've already heard all of that already. So we will comply with your standards, and I believe we do. So thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak regarding the application? Okay, no. Do we have anything further? Do we think we need more information from municipal department heads or anyone else in order to decide the application?
For me, there's not enough evidence that this is two separate parcels. I don't think anything's been presented here that shows me that, and if it's not, then, you know, we're gonna take it on one parcel, and that's how we'll deal with the submission.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should close the public hearing first, and have our discussion, but is someone prepared then to move that we close the public hearing?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the public hearing is closed. No, I think 383-175 comes in to solve that problem for us. I mean, as long as you agree that language fits the bill.
I mean, this is almost the perfect perfect. It's the exact situation that you would hope for in this kind of a multi-use scenario where you have one building that's used during one time of the day, the other portion is used at a different time of the day, and the parking is accessible, as we all know, has not been a problem. The biggest problem is going to be solved here, which is that you come in and there's a hesitation because you always look to your right to see if there's a little spot on the right, and you get the prime spot, and that solves you. You're right on the post road, if there's somebody behind you, it's an issue.
Yeah, so peak parking demands among uses occur at different hours of the day, and this offset results in a lower net peak parking demand. I think that's...
Right, and I think we can rely upon our practical experience of living in the town, going to Chips on the weekend, there's never a parking issue. They do share the parking lot on the weekends.
Right. All right. Any other issues?
No, I think that overall, it's a better site plan approved than it is existing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an amenity that, a month from now, we'd approve anyway.
Well,
There's one big new parking spot for us, too.
yeah, I think that we'd still have the ability to impose some standards, but...
Absolutely.
But the whole
site plan
process would be a lot
standards.
simpler.
Right. The special standards wouldn't.
But I'm glad the applicant came in now, anyway.
Yes.
Right, it's a very nice proposal,
I think so, too.
aesthetically pleasing. It's nice to see a local business be able to expand.
I don't see any health, safety issues. The 4-foot, that's a solid enough separation from traffic. Really is very little traffic close to the building.
To the pedestrian.
Gully in the front, what's in the front between the post road and, there's some kind of barrier there now, isn't there? Like a,
Oh, there's a new guard wall in.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, cars don't really get all that close to the patio.
No.
They shouldn't.
You have to have some flying car.
Right. Famous last words.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. So, I mean, there are two, I forgot to ask about lighting, but I wonder if we have any issue with lighting.
You can't, no.
No, I know.
You can be in charge.
No, that's all right.
I'll make sure to ask that question
Yeah.
later on.
All right. So there are two applications that we need to vote on. One is site plan application, and the other one is an application for special exception permit or use, which is the, parking reduction matter. So I guess we'll take those separately.
I'll move that we approve site plan application submitted by DGA LLC for the property known as 321 Boston Post Road to construct approximately 1,188 square foot outdoor patio.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the site plan application. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Tarenti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Do Motion to approve the application for special exception permit or use has been submitted in conjunction with the application that I just mentioned per sections 383-143.4 and 383-175 of the Orange zoning regulations.
Right, it's 383-175 that
Is the what?
is the one applicable to the special permit.
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the special exception permit or use. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Judy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, none opposed. All right, very good. Good luck with the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our agenda.
Move to adjourn.
We have a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.